Hello everyone. This is the grammar from Unit 6 in Q Skills 3 Listening and Speaking. Today we're going to look at verbs when they are followed by gerunds, infinitives, or both gerund or infinitive. Now, you probably don't know what that means, so this is what we're going to learn. So are you ready? Okay. We're going to do quite a lot today, so you probably need a pen and paper and to make notes. So let's have a look. This is what we're going to look at. So first of all, what is a gerund and what is an infinitive? And I've got two examples here, going and to go. I will explain later. Then we're going to look at what is the subject and what is the object of a verb. And I will explain later. Then, over to you. I'm going to ask you to practice finding the infinitive and the gerund in a short story. Then, we'll look at verbs that are followed by gerunds. For example, I enjoy going out. So basically, if we look at this, we have a verb and it's followed by a gerund. Then we'll look at a list of verbs that are followed by infinitives. I want to travel. So for example, I have the verb want and it's followed by to. This is an infinitive. Next, we're going to look at verbs that are followed by infinitives or gerunds, and there's no difference in meaning. So, for example, I love swimming, or I love to swim. Then, I'm going to ask you to practice using verbs followed by gerund, infinitive, or both. So you need some note paper and to think. Then we're going to look at Q Skills 3 Listening and Speaking Unit 6. Go to page 122 and 123. And finally, you're going to go to the LMS and you're going to look at Unit 6 and do some exercises on this. Now that's rather a lot. So, are you ready? Let's go to the first point then. What is a gerund and what is an infinitive? Okay, let's go. Basically, a gerund is a verb followed by these letters, ing. For example, walking, studying, listening, driving. You have the verb walk plus ing, study plus ing. So what's an infinitive? An infinitive is a verb that is the basic form of the verb and it usually has the word to in front of it. For example, listen, think, love, or to walk, to study, to listen, to drive, to love, to think. These are infinitives. These are gerunds. Easy, isn't it? Now it gets a little bit more complicated. Let's go on to the next point. We're going to look at the subject and the object of a verb. So what is the subject and what is the object? Because you're going to need this information later. Okay. The subject of a verb is, for example, the person who does the activity, and it comes before the verb. Can you think of an example? Well, if not, I'm going to give you one. John arrives at 6. So John here is the subject of the verb arrive. Here's another example. They love chocolate. They is the subject of the verb love. The subject comes before. And it's the person who does the activity. So John arrives and they love. Now that's the subject. But what's the object? Let's take a look. The object of the verb is, for example, the person or object that the verb influences. Let's have a look what I mean. And it comes after the verb. Let's take a look. For example, I have breakfast at 7 a.m. Breakfast comes after the verb have. This is the object. Let's have a look at another example. Are you going to buy a new car? A new car is the object of the verb buy. So the object comes after the verb, the subject comes before the verb. It's not that difficult, is it really? Now, it's over to you. It's time to think. Okay? Right, let's see. What I want you to do now is practice finding the infinitive and the gerund. I'm going to read you a story. You will see it here. Which of the verbs in this story are followed by infinitives or gerunds? So here goes. Yesterday, I decided to get up early and go running with a friend. We had agreed to meet outside my house at 6:30 a.m. My alarm sounded at 6 o'clock, and I jumped out of bed and got ready to go out because I hate being late. We ran about 7 kilometers, and on the way we talked about our holidays and what we were planning to do. Tomorrow we hope to run again, but only if it doesn't rain. Okay, that's a short story. What I'd like you to do is look at the verbs and find the verbs that are followed by infinitives. So that's to or gerunds. That's a verb with ing. Pause the video and then we'll look at the answers. Okay. Right then, let's take a look at the answers. See if you've got the same as me. Which of the verbs are followed by infinitives or gerunds? The infinitives I've marked in red and the gerunds in blue. Did you get the same as me? You see, decide to get up. Decide is followed by an infinitive. Go running, go is followed by, when it's a verb, the gerund. Agree to is followed by infinitive. Now this is very confusing because you think, well, why is that followed by agree to, not agree meeting? And I hate being late. I'm planning to do. Why? Why? Now we're going to look at some of the verbs that are followed by infinitive or gerund. And these are the ones that you need to learn. These verbs are always followed by a gerund when they're in a sentence. Admit, avoid, discuss, enjoy, miss, quit, and dislike. So let's have a look at some examples. I admitted cheating in the exam. You see, it's the verb followed by a verb with an ing. He avoided getting sick by staying at home. Again, it's a verb followed by another verb with ing, a gerund. Let's look at some more examples. We will discuss working online in our class. I enjoyed meeting you. I really miss eating out. I quit smoking last week. That's true. He dislikes getting up early. So these verbs are always followed by another verb with ing. Okay, let's look at verbs that are not followed by gerunds. And these are the ones: agree, choose, decide, hope, learn, need, plan, and want. Let's have a look at some examples. Did you agree to leave early? Agree is followed by an infinitive. Choose. I chose to stay at home. We decided to come early. I hope to see you soon. Again, hope is followed by to when it's a verb. We learned to speak English. I didn't need to see you today. When are you planning to come? I want to go out. You see? So you need to learn these verbs because they're always followed by the infinitive. Now, to make things more complicated, some verbs are followed by infinitive or gerund. So for example, begin, hate, like, love, and prefer. You need to learn these 5. Let's have a look at some examples. It began to rain, or it began raining. It means the same thing. I hate to be late, or I hate being late. It means the same thing. I like having coffee, or I like to have coffee. The same thing. She loves driving, or she loves to drive. And finally, do you prefer to stay at home, or do you prefer staying at home? Now, that's a lot of information, I know, so I think you need to practice a little bit. So let's take a look. I would like you to practice using the verbs followed by gerund, infinitive, or both. So choose the correct form of the verb in brackets. In brackets means like this. So let's have a look at this one. I don't want, is it a gerund, going, or is it an infinitive, go, or is it both? This is the verb in brackets. I'd like you to pause the video and try number 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Thank you. Right, let's check your answers. Did you get the same? If not, if you made mistakes, it basically means that you need to learn those individual verbs that were in the previous slides that you saw. Now it's time to go to your books. I'd like you to go to in Q Skills 3 Listening and Speaking, Unit 6, and find page 122 and 123. This is what it looks like. Okay, in this book you have an explanation of gerunds and infinitives as the objects of verbs. So basically, it's the verb enjoy is followed by a gerund. This is the object. Do you remember we said objects come after the verb? So after she left home, Emily missed seeing her family. This is the verb. After the verb is a gerund with this. Now what I'd like you to do is circle the correct verb form to complete the conversation. If both the infinitive and the gerund are possible, circle both answers. So we have a conversation between Vicky and Janice. Let's have a look at an example here. Hey Janice, did you hear the news? My boss agreed, giving or to give or both. Mere promotion last month. I'd like you to pause the video and try to complete this conversation. It finishes on the next page. Okay, let's have a look at the answers. It's agreed to. Hope to become. Love is both staying and stay. And miss working. And let's look at the answers on the next page. Choose to quit. Wanted to stay. Need to spend. Don't need to have. Fine. Now finally, what I'd like you to do is to go to your LMS. So when you're ready, go to your LMS, Unit 6, in Q Skills 3, and go to Activities like this. You will need to choose Unit 6 by going to Practice, Unit 6, and I'd like you to choose the grammar, gerunds and infinitives as the objects of verbs. Remember, object comes after a verb. This is quite simple. Here you have some verbs. You have to put them. Are they followed only by gerunds, only by infinitives, or either a gerund or infinitive, so both? So let's have a look. Love. If you think love is followed by both, then you put it there. And you can check your answers afterwards. When you finish that, I would like you to do the grammar extension, which is this exercise here. Okay. But before we do that, we need to look at something that's quite important. Okay. There are 3 verbs that take gerund or infinitive with a difference in meaning. Let's take a look at them. When a gerund follows stop, forget and remember, it refers to something that happened before the action. When the infinitive follows, it refers to something that happened after. So let's take a look. For example, I stopped playing golf. I used to play golf, then I stopped. I stopped to play golf. I stopped what I was doing, then I played golf. He remembered writing the number down. He wrote the number down, then he remembered doing it. Now, you're going to practice this on the LMS too. So let's take a look at that exercise. You can read the information here, verbs taking gerund or infinitives with a difference in meaning. What I'd like you to do is choose, is it close or closing? Turn off or turning off? Okay guys, that's a long lesson today. Thank you for making it to the end. Thank you for watching and listening.